Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. I have great respect and admiration for strong, courageous black women. And for this video, I have to salute the sister Maxine Waters for speaking out boldly and courageously on the floor of Congress. Right before she spoke, a Republican representative named Representative Kelly from Pennsylvania said this. He said, "We're trying to make sure that we're making America great every day in every way. The best way to do that is to stop talking about discrimination and start talking about the nation." Maxine Waters, in response, said that it is your president who is dividing the country. And then she repeatedly said that she will not yield. And also she called out the chairman, who was basically saying, well, you're not supposed to address your colleagues, you have to address the chair. And he basically interrupted her speech. And she said, well, you can't stop me if you're not going to stop the other person as well, because this man did not interrupt Representative Kelly. He allowed Representative Kelly to go on about making America great and this and that, and about how we don't need to focus on racism or discrimination. And then Maxine Waters basically said, don't you dare talk to me like that. And she said, I resent this man acting like he knows more about discrimination than I do. You know, as a black woman, obviously she knows more about discrimination than a white man who receives all kinds of privileges and benefits in this society. So she was on point with that. And she called out Donald Trump for being a dishonorable man, for being the dishonorable president of the United States of America. She also said that she will not yield for 1 second. And that's going to be the title of this video, I Will Not Yield. You know, because this is a strong black woman who did not bow to pressure. Now, this congressman, this Representative Kelly, actually expects us to stop talking about discrimination, to stop talking about discrimination as black men are killed in these streets by these stinking police. He expects us to stop talking about this when we have the case of Stephon Clark, when we have the case of Philando Castile, when we have the case of Sam Dubose, when we have the case of Eric Garner and Walter Scott, Trayvon Martin, all these cases of black men being killed by these police, and black women as well, being killed by these police, and there is no justice, being killed by a so-called neighborhood watchman, and there is no justice. They expect us not to talk about discrimination as a black man can't even go to a Starbucks and wait without being harassed by the police, without having some white person call the police on that brother, on those brothers, and have them arrested for waiting while black. In those circumstances, they expect us not to speak about discrimination. They expect us not to speak about discrimination when police officers go in a Waffle House and they throw a sister down to the ground and they rough handle her to the point where her breasts are exposed simply over some disagreement dealing with silverware. They expect us to stop talking about discrimination. They expect us to stop talking about discrimination when you have the police being called simply because somebody was trying to cook some barbecue outside, having a picnic. They expect us to stop talking about discrimination when you have students at Ivy League universities having to worry about their classmates calling the police on them simply for being black, simply for sleeping while black or hanging out while black. They expect us to stop talking about discrimination when we see institutionalized racism in terms of the mass incarceration problem, in terms of the failing schools in our community, in terms of the disproportionate and unfair sentencing of black people in this country. They expect us to stop talking about discrimination as our people undergo all kinds of forms of discrimination. To hell with that. You know, this nation will never be great as long as it discriminates against black people. This nation will never be great as long as black people in the 21st century are still treated like second-class citizens. So To hell with what that congressman was saying. We will continue to speak out. You know, their idea of making America great again is their idea of making America white again. And Maxine Waters was right and exact when she said it's the president who is dividing this country along racial lines, along religious lines, along gender lines. It's the president doing that. It's the president who called Mexicans rapists and criminals. It's the president who has imposed a travel ban against Muslims. It's the president who encouraged his supporters to engage in violence against black protesters. It's the president who referred to those racists and white supremacists in Charlottesville as very fine people. That's the president who did that. So don't talk to us about dividing this country. Don't talk to us about the need to not address racism when it's the president who is using his Justice Department to crack down on affirmative action, to try to undermine affirmative action. Don't talk to us about not speaking out against discrimination when it's the president who set up that sham voter fraud commission to suppress black and Latino voters. Don't talk to us about, discussing discrimination. So this president is dishonorable. This is a president, he's dishonorable in the words of Maxine Waters. This dishonorable president is bringing all kinds of shame to the White House. Many people in his campaign have been indicted for crimes. He has been accused of colluding with these Russians. This dishonorable man, this scumbag of a president who is, has been called out and accused of sexually assaulting and abusing women. This is a man who ran a campaign during which videotape was released of this man talking about grabbing women by the vagina, talking about sexually assaulting women. This man is dishonorable. He is a national embarrassment and a disgrace to not only America, but to humanity. So, I commend the sister for calling this scumbag out. And I look forward to the day when he is impeached. We need more strong people like this in Congress who have the courage to speak out, to speak truth to power. That's what we need. So anytime somebody tells you that voting doesn't matter, that's a person that's a damn fool. Anybody that tells you that you don't need to be voting for people in the federal government, that's a damn fool. These people make laws that affect our lives every day in every single way. Whether we're talking about education, whether we're talking about criminal justice, whether we're talking about the environment, health, all kinds of things. They expect us not to talk about discrimination when you have a president who is targeting programs that are designed or that primarily benefit or substantially benefit African American people. Programs such as Section 8, programs such as, so-called food stamps, programs such as Medicaid and Head Start and Student Aid, all these programs being cut under this man, and they expect us not to deal with these issues, not to speak out on discrimination matters. So I commend this sister for being bold, for being courageous, and we need more people like her in Congress.